to our friends and coach colleagues from around the world. We are absolutely delighted that you are with us today at the Quo Vadis webinar series. Almost 15 years ago, visionary coach Thomas Leonard founded the IAC. Since then, over 13,000 coaches in 80 countries have been a part of the IAC family and benefit from our programs. Thomas believed that creative destruction was the means to power us to the future. In these turbulent times, it is critical that we keep pace with change. Inspired by our founder's vision and consistent with our approach to provide leadership to the coaching world, our webinars offer a platform that allows you to learn from global coaching thought leaders, their ideas on the future directions of coaching. I am your host, Pepe del Rio, and I invite you to listen, learn, and enjoy today's conversation with Dr. and Coach Luis Gaviria. Let me start introducing Dr. Gaviria. Well, he's a professional doctor, but he's also a part of the Board of Governors of the International Association of Coaching. I've known him for a long time now, and I can tell you he's a wonderful professional. He's a professional coach, master coach, trainer at Neurosciences Institute. He's also a clinical psychologist, corporate consultant, and trainer, professor of medicine in 2 universities, writer and speaker. Topics include inspiration, leadership, and how to achieve a highly productive, low-stress life. He is an advocate and developer of neuro-coaching and coaching with twist, neuroscience, neurofeedback, neurolinguistics. Dr. Gaviria says, I believe we are in the business of transforming lives. I also believe we have a role to play in helping low-income and impoverished communities. Well, he has a very long bio, and I want to give the floor to our president, Krishna Kumar.
Thank you, Pepe. It's such a wonderful introduction to our colleague, Luis Gaviria. And I'm going to ask Luis to switch on his video so everybody can see him. And thank you, Luis. It's wonderful to be here with you today. And I have known Luis since we were very privileged to welcome him to the IAC Board of Governors earlier this year. And I got the opportunity to have a few conversations with Luis, and with me, I left the conversation feeling far more energized than I began the conversation. So for me, that's the hallmark of a fantastic coach. So with that, Luis, and this introduction that we have on a topic that I think will be of great value to all the coaches listening in today, because it's probably cutting edge in the field of coaching, I would be very happy and privileged to hand over the floor to you.
Thank you, Krishna. I do appreciate this opportunity. Number one, because this is a family. I've always felt family here at IAC, and it's just a matter of, stand up and deliver, go out in the world, do our best, and then live a very, I would say, meaningful life. And IAC is the kind of, if I may, brotherhood, confraternity, I don't know how to call it, but I just feel right at home. Thank you, Krishna. Shall I go ahead?
Please go ahead, Luis. We are waiting to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen here. I wouldn't like to miss the opportunity to show my beautiful, beautiful slides. Where and how will neurosciences support next generation coaching? Wow, I just myself, I'm mind boggled just by thinking about that. Let's start with something that I believe should set the floor for this kind of conversation. And this is, if your mind is empty, It is always ready for anything. It is open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. Therefore, today, I kindly ask all my colleagues, all the participants to this webinar, to let go of, let go of the ego. That's very tough, but at least try to acquire a position of emptiness, to see what transpires. What can we get out of this conversation today? And one of the things that I want to share is, please close all of your emails, social media applications, because we have a very powerful number one takeaway, and that is human beings cannot, listen to me, cannot really multitask, period, really. So let go of everything, and for the next few minutes, let's just commit to this situation. One of the things that I like to point out is this very fact, and please take note of this. Coaching itself is sufficient as a discipline to instill powerful personal transformation. When I talk about neuroscience, by no means I'm trying to, let's say, interchange, swap, or do something to the coaching field. The coaching field is very powerful in itself. What I say is neuroscience adds desirable tools and strategies to facilitate and expand the art and science of coaching. That I can tell you. And of course, it also provides a scientific foundation for the understanding of behavior in individual and group dynamics. Let's remember that understanding something at a deeper level gives us more power to understand the whole dynamics. So it gives us power. And that I would say in the first place. One of the things that I love to say, again, and this is kind of funny, because, okay, here is my best picture ever. This is one that I show in Facebook and everything, because I look a little bit different 10 years after, but it makes me like, gee, I wish I can look like that when I turn 80. Anyway, I'm 61 right now, so that's kind of my map for presence and looks in the next 20 years. So anyway, let's go to this one. I'm a clinician. Yeah, I'm a clinician. I'm a published author. Oh, yeah, right. Oh, you must be very good, Luis. Oh, an inspirational speaker. You must change lives. What a powerful human being. Oh, no, not at all. What I am is I am a very happy husband. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. And that is what makes my life tick. And helping other people. Most of it all, I am proud to be a coach. Believe it or not, I don't introduce myself nowadays as hello, I'm Dr. Luis Gaviria. Oh, no. Listen to this. I am Coach Luis Gaviria. And that makes me so happy. It makes me feel so, I don't know how to say it, but let me tell you this. It is very powerful, the feeling that I got. I had the opportunity to have my daughter as part of some of our surgeries in the past, and she has a major in neuroscience, so it runs in the family. That's the reality. But the reason I'm showing this is because it brings some memories to my life. I got cancer some 4 years and a half ago. Cancer, yeah, prostate cancer. It was 2 to 3 stage, and I decided that when I had the energy, I would go and work. And I was undergoing treatment. And one day, I'm in the middle of a surgery, and all of a sudden, I realized that the patient that we are doing this surgery for, he's a cancer patient. And here I am with cancer. Wow, it was like a realization. All of a sudden, it was like an epiphany. I felt, well, this is what coaching is all about. We do not need to be perfect or to be in perfect shape to go and accompany someone, help someone. And that was so powerful for me. It was like I felt more free than ever. It's if I have cancer and I can help someone with cancer, then I can have a normal life and still coach people. And that's something that I just wanted to share because it was a very powerful thing for me at the time. When I came by the field of coaching, being a well-established clinician, I'm not a psychologist, by the way, I'm a psychophysiologist. It's a big difference because I'm more into the biological part of neurosciences, even though I got a grasp on behavior. But anyway, working in very highly stressful environments like intensive care units, neurosurgery and all that. These were my beliefs. One, coaching is just a light version of psychotherapy. Yeah, a light version of psychotherapy. I have been a speaker for many years, and some of my clients would ask me, would you please teach us a class in coaching? I say, well, I don't know about coaching. Well, just prepare something. And I prepared something, and I felt like a fraud. It was like me teaching about coaching. I'm not a coach. But anyway, I got interested, and in 1999, I came across Thomas Leonard. And later on with Thomas and Dave Buck, I started my training, and Diana Stoll, and it did change my life. But anyway, I had another let's say, belief, and that would say that training to be a coach will just add another line to my resume. Is it worth it? Is it worth, I mean, the whole training was at the time probably $6,000, 2 years. And will this be worth it? I was so wrong. Let me tell you this. I was so wrong because coaching actually enhanced the way I treated my patients. Believe me, this is very, very important to understand. Compliance. We take it by granted that if I'm a doctor, I tell my client, okay, Mr. Robert, or Robert, you should quit smoking. And you should take this and this medication. And in a directive way, we expect, since we are doctors, that the patients are going to comply. Compliance is a big issue in the industry, and the pharmaceutical industry, and in the medical industry, and every restoring profession. Instilling change in lifestyle is so difficult. Well, I'm going to tell you, my practice grew, the compliance of my patient increased dramatically, and the most important part was that I was expanding here inside. Coaching changed me, and that was very interesting. Someone would say, how did you put coaching to service in your practice? Oh, it was very simple. Again, as doctors, we are directive. You do this, do this, do this, and do that. But I started to change this highly directive approach, and I started to devote 2 or 3 minutes probing for what was the purpose in their lives. Looking for purpose, looking for meaning. What would make a difference in the way they saw life, and what would they find as something worth clinging into to make life more livable, and would they somehow draw energy from that meaning to face a treatment, sometimes very tough treatments like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, amputation. Wow. And I'm going to tell you, that made a big difference. So 2 to 3 minutes in every single appointment with a patient, and the relationship with them was a meaningful and very powerful approach for them to instill change. And since I was doing stress medicine intervention in intensive care units and neurophysiological monitoring with the patient while she is undergoing brain surgery while fully awake. I mean, this is mind-boggling. Yeah, it's like going to the dentist. Yeah, you have your brain wide open, someone is operating, and they expect you to just still sit still or lie still and allow us to do our work and don't freak out. It's not that easy. We needed to create different protocols. We decided to create a protocol, coach-based protocol, to prepare the patient so that the patient would come happy and compliant and cooperative into the surgery itself. And then when I had my patient fully connected to all kinds of, connections, gizmos, electrodes and stuff, and he or she would be awake, the whole thing would go smooth. And then we would have to think about rehabilitation. All that changed because of coaching. Of course, it's not mainstream yet. Some people say, Luis, you're spending too much time in that. Luis, it doesn't bring any more money to our pockets. To start with, I have to confess something. I was never moved by the clink of the cash register. I've always had enough. I've always had enough. I have a very abundant, happy life, and somehow not living in poverty ever allowed me to focus in my dream and the things I was doing. So many of the patients that I had the chance to see, they didn't have a dime to pay. The hospitals were not going to pay me. It didn't matter, because I decided many years back that, one, I wasn't going to lose my sensitivity as a human being when I saw pain, physical pain or emotional pain. And number two, I was going to be living by meaning, not by the money that I was going to be pouring into my account. And that gave me a lot of freedom, I can tell you that. Now, listen to this. I dared to change some of the protocols, and it did work nicely. Ahora, if we think about it, coaching was a major component. What if bringing basic coaching strategies to applied neuroscience and brain surgery worked? What if we brought basic neuroscience to coaching? It was very simple for me. So let me close this. How do I stop this thing? Let me stop here. And let me say something. I started to read. I came across a book by David Rock, Coaching with the Brain in Mind, and then I got my hands on Dr. Judith Glaser, 42 Rules for Creating We. Wow, that was mind-boggling. It was so powerful for me. I started to find some things, and I thought, I'm not crazy. This has grounds. This has application. And then I came across Brain and Business by Dr. Pillai. I believe he's an Indian doctor here in the US. But most of it all, I have been studying and learning about Dr. Herbert Benson from Harvard, whom I had the chance in the first place when we had this update a few months back in Harvard in lifestyle medicine. I had the chance to go and hug him and tell him, Dr. Benson, you don't know me, I know you. You've made a big difference in my life. And because he taught me the basics of I can choose to be peaceful in the midst of storm. Listen to this. It might sound kind of dramatic, but I remember I came across this quote by Vivian Green. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about to learn how to dance under the rain. And that make a big difference in my approaches to life in many ways. So just by thinking about it, when we think about why neuroscience in the first place? Simple. The brain is the foundation of the mind. It is. The brain plus the rest of the nervous system. And why science? Well, science is many things, but to me, science is a quest for truth. And when we base our lives in whatever truth is out there or here inside, we have a very strong foundation to go ahead in life. So if coaching is about change and a different change, not just change my ways of watching situations or seeing life, but coaching is more than just doing or having. Oh yeah, after coaching, I'm more productive or I have more money or whatever. No, to me, the whole thing is more powerful because coaching is about becoming. Coaching is about creating new, better realities. And since we're not alone, those realities are good and in good standing for ourselves and those that surround us. So anyway, when we think, okay, Luis, hold on just a second, hold your horses. Okay, neuroscience, okay, I understand, the brain is the basis of behavior and such and such. So to people coaching, it's two brains communicating. Oh, no. Let's avoid oversimplification. Two or more people together is much more than two nervous systems exchanging bits of information. Let me show you this real quick because it's worth, I created this slide and I want to show it and I hope you're going to enjoy it. Let me see. Look at this. So it's two brains together, interchanging information. No, it's much more than that. It's two or more human beings sharing memories, their history, their expectations, their yearnings, their hopes, their most cherished hopes. People in search of meaning. To me, that made kind of, made all the sense in the world. So here, we're giving a brain. It's like someone who was in a coma for the last 4 years. They wake up and say, hey, hello, Luis, or George, or Krishna, or Christine. I'll tell you what, okay, the world has changed a bit. Now those telephone lines and things, wires, they don't exist anymore. Now you have a phone, a smartphone. You don't need wires or anything. Oh, that's very interesting. And with that phone, you can talk. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's what the brain is given to us in the first place. We think that just by having a brain, we know how to deal with our brain. No, it is not true. The way it is not true that someone who just starting to grow, a child, not because the person or she is being given all the neurons she needs and she has feet, now she can walk and she can run. No, it takes training. It'll take a lot of interconnections, repetition, rhythm, reinforcement, rewards, and go and do it again and again and again and again. So to learn how to use our brains is like, again, like using a new phone that we didn't know that had more opportunities than just being a phone to speak. Because all of a sudden I realized that like my brain has other features. Well, my phone allows me to calculate. Wow, by the way, that's a very expensive calculator. But on the other hand, that brain gives me other features. My phone gives me the opportunity to go from point A to point B. Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you. And most of it all, my phone allows me to take pictures. The pictures of the ones I love. By the way, that is my grandchild, and that's my oldest son. That's Martina Gaviria. So just by having Martina Gaviria in front of me every single day means a lot. Now, listen to this. If we learn how to use our brains the way we learn to use a phone, simple. I'm oversimplifying again, but anyway, I thought it was a great idea. Its time has come, and to tell you the truth, everyone started to talk about neuro. So neurocells, neuro leadership, neuro and at the time when we started, and this was in the beginning of 2001, 2002, I thought, gee, neuro and coaching makes a lot of sense. And we let it cook, and we started to work, and everyone started to talk about cortisol, testosterone, dopamine, oxytocin, all those hormones, all those neuropeptides. And yeah, they are present and they are part of the system, not only for stress, but for reward. And that's how we learn. And then we learned that, okay, if you want to learn something, you need some emotion. Okay, great. And if you want to change a habit, you need some reinforcement. That means start your habit by doing something good for yourself. Reward yourself so your brain looks forward to the new habit with expectation. So anyway, many things like those happen. But let me show you this again, because this is the most important part for me. This that we're going to be going into right now. Hold on, let me see. Here. When I came across Dr. Judith Glaser's work, I thought, we know very little. I know very little. But gathering the little I know with what you and others know, all of us can make an impressive we know. That's the power of we. And yeah, that was my takeaway. We is far more powerful than you or me for the sakes of all. And that's why we get together, we create associations, we teach what we find to everyone else. It's like, I remember it was Richard Bach in Jonathan Livingston Seagull, or any other book of his, where he says that his way of showing love was teaching others the truth he had come across. And that's what we do here. That's what we do. Anyway, look at this. This is way powerful. Nous, uns, nosotros. We are more powerful than anything. And understanding the basics of our interaction and being our brain a social organ, and that is very powerful, and we have to take that in consideration. That's how we hold hands, because biologically, we need to hold hands. Biologically, we are more powerful together than by ourselves. Now, we learned again that mirror neurons are the biological basis for values. Yes, they are. Why? Well, all of a sudden, living an impeccable life makes sense, because it is not up to me to have my mirror neurons or my children's mirror neurons, the ones that tend to mimic what they see. Our children, we ourselves, we tend to mimic, to emulate what we see that is embedded in our brains. And all of a sudden, we see the basis for values, for setting an example, for living an impeccable life, for leading the way by living our lives. If we learn again that our brain can tell imagination from reality, then we can change and manage our emotions. Because you see, sometimes we human beings think that we need to react to life the way life is showing up. That means today is a sad day. Yesterday I was happier. What happened? I don't know. I just felt that way. I'm going to tell you, human beings are something very interesting. We are very, it's weird the way our emotions flow. But now, if we can change our imagination, we can change our emotions. Yes, bottom line here is, thou shalt know thy brain. Knowing our equipment helps us in making a much better use of it. Simple. And I'm not talking about learning what is the Wernicke's area, Broca's area, prefrontal cortex, mirror neurons, amygdala, visual cortex, limbic system. Forget about it. We're talking about something totally different. We're talking about learning where and how human beings get to build rapport, How do we deal with motivation, resistance? We learn the power of we learn the power of a conversation. We understand ambivalence, we understand inspiration and emotional management. Again, here it comes, emotional management. If it works with my patients, what would it do for someone who is healthy? What if I can help someone with a few words, with a short interaction of minutes, to feel ready to go forward, to undergo surgery? What if we can do this to undergo life, to face everyday challenges, to start anew, not to give up too early in life? So I'm going to ask you something, and this is the very best part of this presentation, I hope. I kindly ask you, all of my colleagues and all the participants in this webinar, just hold your hand like this. Hold your hand like this, and imagine you have a lemon in there. Just imagine you have a lemon. You cut it in half. Yes, you have a lemon, a very juicy, sour lemon. Just imagine. Sour, very sour and juicy, so much so that the juice is running down your finger now. And now imagine you putting some salt on it. Salt, and just look at those granules of salt melt into the juice. And now put your tongue in it and move it around and suck into it. And just imagine, and of course, if you're taking some psychiatric medication, you're going to have a dry mouth, but otherwise you should have some more saliva right now than a few minutes before. And that is because the brain responds the same, almost in the same amount, to imagination as it does to reality. There is no control mechanism here. There is nothing say, okay, here says the brain, okay, behold, hence, I want you to prove if there is any lemon in your hand. Eyes, verify the presence of the lemon. No, there is no mechanism whatsoever. You imagine, and to the brain it's like reality. So, how does this serve the purpose for what we are going to tackle here? Hold on just a second, let me close this. Simple. There are a few things that we need to understand. When we are sad, and we need to be in a happier state, we can do that at will. Let's start by changing our position. Okay, when we're sad, we're like this. When we're happy, we're like this. And it's a two-way street. When your body tells your brain that you can be upright, that you are like a prince, like a princess, everything in the brain changes. Position. Posture makes a heck of a difference in the way our brain functions. So to start with, let's do it by sitting up straight. Stand tall. It's not a mere saying. Stand tall is not about pride. Stand tall is about getting in touch with our power inside. And then focus. Now I have my posture. Okay, what is next? Focus. Are you going to be focusing on what is sad, of what you lack, what is not there, or you're going to think about the things you got? So let's focus for a second in something that evokes tenderness. And I think about my grandchild or one of my horses. Believe it or not, I feel tenderness towards my horses. I'm touched by my horses and our dogs. But most of it all, my wife, my kids, just imagine the presence of someone that you love for a second. Bear with me, please. Stand tall. Think about someone you love. Now imagine, just imagine that the people you love surround you and they hug you. If you tolerate hugs, I do. Just imagine for a second. And you might say, Louis, this takes a lot of time. No, I can do emotional management while I drive to the hospital. I do it. Sometimes I'm low. No, I'm going to sit tall, if I may. I'm going to think about the ones that I love. I'm going to evoke some situations in which I felt powerful. And I do. And I just breathe in that kind of sensation and think about the loved ones. Yeah, and you know what? Dr. Amy Cuddy taught us years back that just by putting our hands in a victory position, and this is universal, by the way, and you either raise your hands and say, yes, yes, or else you imagine you are raising your hands and screaming, shouting, yes, I'm doing it right now. There is a downpour of, listen to me, dopamine, oxytocin, and it creates instant happiness. On demand. You and I can be happy on demand. And that brings something that to me is of paramount importance. Family, colleagues, friends today, listen to this. If there is something that coaching can bring to our lives, if we do it properly, is this. It can bring inner freedom. Inner freedom. What else is there? Today, let me tell you one thing. We coaches really are a new generation of world changers. We are here to change the world, not to make the world just more livable, but more meaningful. We are here to make a difference, a very strong difference. And believe me, this is kind of funny because some people say, hey, Luis, so what, I mean, do you do coaching? Yes, I do a lot of executive coaching. I do coaching. I'm a coach. I do that. It would be like a crime to become a coach and then not having clients. It just doesn't work like that. I mean, if I'm a coach, I should see clients. And why I do coach people? Because what I get out of the coaching relationship, because it's for me. This is so selfish. I'm a better human being when I started coaching others. And if I allow myself to be coached by the coaching itself, it makes all the difference. Believe me, when is that going to happen in the first place? The neuroscience helping next generation coaching? The very minute you start to realize that you have a wonderful, wonderful system within you that is not only brain, it has connection to your heart. It has connection to every single part of your body and your reality and your surroundings and your milieu. I mean, everything around you is connected to your brain and your soul. And believe it or not, I believe there is a spirit. Yeah, there has to be some sort of fountain, of source. And this is the way we connect to that source and this beautiful universe, this intelligent universe of ours. And just by honoring that and learning a bit, we start to realize that we are part of something magnificent. Magnificent. Life itself, knowing a bit more, becomes more awesome, magnificent, outstanding. And to me, that is what life is all about. Living in a magnificent way and helping others find their way. That's about it. That's what comes from my heart today for you folks. And I'm totally open and happy to answer to some questions. And thank you. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thank you, Luis. I mean, we almost wished you wouldn't stop because we were getting the inner freedom, and I was, but for the fact that we were on a presentation, you'd have seen me jumping up and down. But it's, I mean, and I mean that in very great sincerity, because it was so very inspirational what you spoke, and the fact that you have taken, I think you've pioneered, one of the early pioneers in bringing in coaching into the medical profession. In fact, right at the beginning when you mentioned the directive part of being a doctor, and it's something that anybody on this call would relate to, because we all know that, we've seen it. You go to a doctor and at the most basic level you're prescribed 3 pills which you have to have 3 times a day, and God forbid you don't do that. But when you started coming in and you were talking about the highest level of surgery, which is brain surgery and other kinds of surgery, and mentioning the fact that coaching made the difference both before and during and after the surgery, what I'd really ask of you, and there are a couple of questions coming in, so while they come in, I'm going to ask you a question, and I would really encourage all the listeners, please do type in your questions, and to the time we have, it will be my pleasure to share them with Luis, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them. There were a couple of questions on asking the connect between coaching and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Somebody wanted to know if the presentation slides would be shared, and I think we can do that.
Absolutely.
And someone asked also for you to repeat the books that you said you had referred to earlier today, and you can take that up in a minute or two.
Absolutely.
When we spoke, one of the early times we spoke, I was fascinated by you mentioning how you applied coaching during surgery. And perhaps you could mention a little bit about that. I know it's such a big topic, but fascinating. So if you could touch upon that briefly and also mention those books, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. Okay, and number one, this needs a whole change in attitude, and to me, one of the things that cancer gave me was a change in perspective, and to start looking at life the way it should be looked at. Humble. I mean, humble is the first call that I got when I got cancer. Luis, let's be humble, because there is no time for anything else. And when I started in the coaching field many years back, because I became a professional coach in 2000, from 1999 to 2000. One of the things that I noticed was that the way I would converse, the way I would start a parlay, this interaction with my patients, what I did was I stopped and listened. I started to listen to the people, because it was not a symptom. It was a human being with pain in their heart, in their body, and many of them needed to express something. They needed to take it out their chest. That was a very important one. And I would listen to them, because we have very little time with patients, and I would just look at them, and sometimes I would have to stop them and tell them, listen, we're running out of time. Let me tell you something. And this was kind of funny, because this is how people live. I would say, do you believe in God? Some would say, I don't. Okay, do you believe in the universe? Yes. Let's expect the best from the universe. You are a beautiful design. That body of yours has beautiful design. Let's do our best. How about that? And then if the person was a believer, oh, I believe in God. Okay, now listen to this. The hands of every one of us during surgery are going to be held by God. Let's pray for that. Would you like to pray? And it takes 20 seconds. And it doesn't matter whether I was a believer or not. It's a way to address a patient in their frame of mind, in their beliefs. And then just a couple minutes to ask the person about meaning. It's not what is your game today, what is your best project for the next 2 years, or how would you like to go about this, and what is stopping you from achieving this? No. It's not a whole coaching conversation. It's simple. What is important to you at this time? What is the most important people for you at this time? Can you imagine they're here? Yeah. Okay, think about him. Let's connect to that. Some would say, I had a patient who said, well, I'm very lonely, but I'm writing a book. A book. Okay, let's think about that book. Let's imagine that book is being read by many people. How would you like them to feel when they read your book? And he would smile in the midst of pain. Okay, you need to write that book, all right? So are you willing to go the extra mile in this treatment? Yes, yes. Are you willing to take whatever comes your way? We're going to be on your side. Yes. So that's how it works. It's rather simple. It's number one, I forget about myself when I'm in front of one of the executives, one of those big companies that I have the opportunity to work with. It's not me. It's about the reality of a life. I forget about me and I immerse myself in an effervescent way in the conversation, and then listen and to connect and find meaning. If you can help someone find meaning, you got something to stick to, and it'll empower them to undergo whatever they have to undergo in life. Pain, difficulty, struggle, whatever. And in spite of strife, they will thrive no matter what. That would be my two cents on that, Krishna. On the other hand, about the books, I have a note around here. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I had it around here. I have some notes. I'm not going to take a lot of time. It was Dr. Judith Glaser. By the way, Conversational Intelligence by Dr. Glaser is exuberant. It needs to be read by every one of us. I loved it. Another one, 42 Rules for Creating We. 42 Rules for Creating We. Those two from Dr. Judith Glaser. There is Brain and Business, but his name is Srinivasan, Pillay, Pillay, I would say. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Srini Pillay.
Srini Pillay, Brain and Business. And then every book written by Dr. Herbert Benson. Herbert Benson is emeritus doctor in Harvard. He is the guy to go to understand about meditation. Oh, Lord, just there is such a rich source of information and down-to-life exercises. And of course, Dr. David Rock, Coaching with the Brain in Mind, was very, it would enrich also the way we see the field. Those were kind of the first books. Of course, I can look into my library and my personal library and share more. I'll be very glad to do that, by the way.
Thank you, Luis. And to give you a break, let me share some more questions that came in here. And I know we have a limited time, but I would like to share that. Susan Biro has, written wonderful things about you. I have no time to read it all, except to say that she's very grateful for all that you have written, and she's, effusive in her gratitude. And then Camilo has asked about how has your environment changed through neuro-coaching. And then we have Saurav from India, who is known to me, who says, on your takeaway number 4, you spoke about how our brain does not differentiate between reality and imagination. And you shared the Lyme experience.
I'm sorry, you're cutting. You're cutting off.
The lemon.
The last one about the Lyme. What?
Okay, the lemon experience of putting it on your mouth. And no, he wanted to ask you how the brain doesn't differentiate between reality and imagination.
Oh, it's very simple.
Yeah, and let me finish that. And how close are these to the concepts of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and whether you have practiced NLP?
Yes. Yes, back in 1982 with Richard Bandler, I took a training, in-depth training of NLP. It was wonderful. It was like opening a Pandora box, but with nice little things here and there. But later on in life, I didn't want to be kind of caged in a belief system. I wanted to go into a more mainstream neurolinguistics. So I do not practice NLP per se. I do believe in the power of neurolinguistics in general. And it's all neuroscience based. It's very simple. So yeah, I'm in debt to Richard Bandler and them for their work and many things, but it's main neurolinguistics, the power of neuroscience applied to language, and which is very powerful. And if anyone takes a training in NLP, it's going to empower you very much. I can tell you that too. Number two, regarding environment. The very first time I had Professor Tumim in a laboratory saying, Louis, put on your gloves. Yeah, okay. And he grabbed a human brain, a specimen, and he said, I want you to hold this. I was like, okay. He put that brain in my hands. He just didn't say, look at that beautiful machine. He just said, Louis, you're holding the memories, the love, the hopes. This is the bank that holds the wonder of someone who lived to be 75. How wonderful that is. So when we're taught that way, we start to see things in a whole different way. Of course, I had to learn how fast a signal goes from point A to point B within a neuron, what are the Schwann cells and all kinds of stuff, technical, and what is the role of the tau and myeloid cells in Alzheimer's. We have to know that, of course, as doctors. But to find the meaning, we need the whole picture. And the whole picture is moving within human life, is becoming aware of the fact that we are a miracle, that there is nothing so far, nothing. You can even Google it. Please find something more fascinating than a human brain in the universe. So far, we haven't found anything else. And it is connected to eyes, to feelings, to your gut, to your feet, your skin, and everything. It's not brain, it's a complete system, so powerful. So to me, the environment in which I was taught made a difference in the way I see life, I see health, I see people, I see human beings. I'm surrounded by miracles every single day. I hope that answers somehow Camilo's question. And I'm missing one. Which one did I miss, Krishna, please?
I don't think you missed anything at all. You covered them all in your own unique way, Louis, and it was so very powerful. In fact, I enjoyed that illustration of the person who mentored you by giving you the brain in your hand. Because it's when people talk about a paradigm shift in thinking, that's probably when it happened. I mean, and I only hope that many more people do similar things. And maybe very deep down, that must have been the first experience of being coached in a kind of indirect kind of way, if I might say that. So we have very little time left, and I do not see any other questions. But if there are, and I know one of the reasons we don't get too many questions on situations like this is because you have given so much to people to think about. And I know these questions will come later, so I'm requesting everybody on this call to feel very free to mail in to us.
Please.
And I will be, and Louis, you are very welcome to share your email ID if you have it on the screen. And if you don't, you can speak it out loud for everybody's benefit. And, I'm sure they'll be very happy to reach out to you. And, maybe you would be very happy to answer those questions later. One last question coming in is from Leanne in Hong Kong, who said, more and more people get depression today in this complex world from a very young age. Will neuro-coaching help? And there was another question, which is again repeating in some ways the earlier one, which said, what's the difference for the brain not knowing between reality and imagination? So those are the last two questions we'll take for the day, and before we wind up.
Thank you so much. Before I dive into that, and I'm not going to dive very deep because we're short in time, let me tell you, I understand and I hope there are some licenses here in this call. Let me tell you something. The Neuroscience and Coaching Institute is not holding neuro-coaching as a treasure, as a black box. That is public domain, my friends. I'm totally willing to share everything we know. In fact, I encourage other schools to teach neuroscience applied to coaching. You don't need to be a neuroscientist to do neuroscience-based coaching at all. Count on me, count on us in our school. We want to see this become mainstream. In the beginning, we had even registered the neuro-coaching name, and then we gave it up because this has to become a generic name. It's for the good of all. It's public domain. We as coaches, we're charged. We charge by the hour or by project or whatever, but we don't charge for the things we read or our knowledge or anything. Knowledge is out there for everybody. I think that is the way it should be. That's one of the things. So please feel free to reach whenever anyone wants me to talk before their audiences in their schools. Please count on me. This is my vocation. This is the way I live. I'm here to do this, period. The years I have left, I don't know how many, I'm going to be doing this, and I'm happy to do it. Secondly, let's go back to how the brain doesn't tell really what is reality and imagination. Okay, you take a person into a functional MRI machine, and you put him in there with that big donut and everything, and you get the person there, and they are still, and we are looking at their brain, and then and this is being prepared beforehand. We tell the person, someone is going to say hello. And then someone walks in for just a second. Open your eyes, and they slightly see, and it's their child, their beloved child. And then we look at the way the brain lights up like a Christmas tree in some areas that say something beautiful is happening here. Those neurons are firing, are interconnecting. There is something beautiful happening here. And if we could go and pinpoint, we would see there is oxytocin, dopamine, even serotonin being released in the body. But then, okay, let it go. We change the subject. The person goes through different situations in their minds. We speak to them. And 5 minutes later, okay, let's go again. Please, George, let's say the patient's name is George. I want you, please, imagine that your child is opening the door and walking towards you, and he or she is going to hug you. Immediately, the brain lights up in the very same places because the brain itself, as an organ, obeys the command of our mind. But the brain itself it's so naive, if I may, not stupid, naive. It doesn't tell the difference. And that is very powerful because then it gives us the chance to build our lives the way we want it, the way we want them. Let's remember something. We have the power to be happy or not. Many of our patients started the process of letting go, of course, guided by their psychiatrist, of medication. Of course, they were being watched, they were being supervised. But when you start to learn how to be happy on demand, you get back the possibility of living a meaningful life. Now, life has its ups and downs, but you have something to hold on to. You have that right, and it's being built within you.
Thank you, Luis. I think, when you said that example, you couldn't have come up with something more powerful and so vivid. We ourselves are getting lost between reality and imagination right now. It's all those firing connected us into that reality, which I think is an amazing example. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And perhaps before I pass it on to Pepe, may I ask you to share your email ID? Maybe you can just speak it out or spell it out, and then I would like to show it on the screen while I pass it on to to Pepe for the closing. And it's been absolutely wonderful, Luis, to have you on the call today, to share all your learnings with everybody. Such a fascinating subject for us. So very new and so very new generation. So thank you again from all of us. And
thank you, Krishna. Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to listening to lots more as we go along, Luis. I've been the fortunate one to have you with us as a colleague. So that's wonderful.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you for the invitation, and thanks to all my colleagues, to Coach Pepe Del Rio, Coach Krishna Kumar, Coach Bibi Olsen, and the rest of the people, all of our colleagues in IAC, and I'm just so enthusiastic that I found my people. You guys are my gang, okay, in the best possible way. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So, what do you think? This, Luis, amigo, this has been a great presentation and very inspiring presentation, and I want to thank you. And because, as you were saying, we can be happy on demand, and in these turbulent times, I believe that's our responsibility.
Yes.
Get happy on demand, and one conversation at a time changed the world. So thank you, Luis. You've been so kind of being here today. And for my friends, I want to say something, and I am going to say it first in Spanish and then in English. Para la gente que está oyendo esta transmisión y que habla español, bueno, esta presentación va a estar, la vamos a repetir, o la va a repetir Luis, en noviembre 16, para que todos los que quieran en español puedan entrar. So what I was saying is that this same presentation, we're going to have it next November 16 in Spanish. And we're hoping to expand the Quo Vadis series. In February, we're going to have a whole bunch of webinars also in Spanish. And with Leanne, that I saw it, she was there, and Bonnie and everybody else, we will have also Chinese, because IAC, it's a global family.
Yes.
We're, the world is a family, and IAC is a family. IAC belongs to all of us. And these are the language that we now speak in IAC. So to close this up, to wrap this up, as this webinar comes to an end, let me say on behalf of the IAC and to the community of coaches around the world, how pleased I am that you join us today, tonight, or tomorrow. You've been a wonderful audience, and I hope you've enjoyed the webinar as much as I have. The International Association of Coaching, and this is just a reminder, was created by Thomas Leonard to lead the coaching world. And we have to get this clear. Was created by Thomas Leonard to lead the coaching world. Thomas believed that creative destruction was the means to power us to the future. In these turbulent times, it is critical that we keep pace with change. To me, and to a great many of us at the IAC and all over the coaching industry, the future has never been brighter. And after listening to Luis today, I believe we all agree. Join, if you haven't joined the IAC family, please join us, come with us, and walk with us and help us create one meaningful conversation at a time that can change the coaching world. I want to show our upcoming webinars. As I said, we're going to have this same webinar the 16th. Before that, next Monday, November 14, and for Des Walsh that lives in Australia, will be November 15. We're and Sally Taylor, that it's also here as it's been participating in all these webinars. And we're going to have Des Walsh and Sally Taylor speaking to us. But please see the hour on your location. The webinar is going to start November 14 in this part of the world, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And so beware that it's not going to be at the same hour that we've been having. Well, I want to wrap up. Thank you for attending, and please consider attending this reminding webinar, and join us and follow us in our social media. Thank you. Have a great day, great evening. Adios.